They say the difference between a prison and a home is whether you have the key. I had the key. I'd had it for 3 months. Yet, every morning, I woke up in Taeyang Kang's mansion, and every night I fell asleep to the sound of his footsteps in the hallway outside my door. My name is Chamakar Blake, and the day I discovered why he really took me, why my mother died, and why love sometimes wears the face of a monster, everything I thought I knew shattered like glass under a bullet. It started on a Wednesday morning that felt too ordinary for what was coming. I stood in the mansion's kitchen, stirring honey into my tea, watching armed men patrol the garden like it was normal. Somewhere between the kidnapping and now, normal had shifted. I no longer flinched at the sight of guns. I no longer counted the exits. I had stopped planning my escape 2 weeks ago, though I'd never admit that out loud. Taeyang entered, dressed in his usual black, hair still damp from a shower. He moved like water, silent and inevitable. "You're up early," he said, pouring himself coffee. "Couldn't sleep." I didn't look at him. Looking at him had become dangerous. Lately, when our eyes met, something electric passed between us, something that made me forget why I should hate him. He leaned against the counter, close enough that I could smell his cologne, cedar, and smoke. Still thinking about leaving? Every day. But you don't. I finally met his gaze. Maybe I'm just waiting for the right moment. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Or maybe you've realized there's nowhere safer than here. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. The smile vanished. He read the message and his entire demeanor changed, hardening into the man who'd crashed my wedding. "Get dressed," he said, voice clipped. "We're leaving in 10 minutes. "Leaving where?" "Somewhere I should have taken you 3 months ago." 20 minutes later, we were speeding through Seoul in an unmarked car. No bodyguards, no backup. Just him, me, and whatever storm was brewing behind his eyes. "Are you going to tell me what's happening?" I asked. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "Your mother?" "Adana. How much did she tell you about her time in Seoul?" The question hit like a slap. "What?" "Nothing. She barely mentioned Korea at all." That's what I was afraid of. He pulled into a narrow alley in Gangnam, parking behind a building that looked abandoned. Inside, the air smelled of dust and old secrets. He led me down a hallway to a storage unit, pulling out a key I'd never seen before. 3 months ago, I told you I took you to protect you," he said, unlocking the door. That was true. But it wasn't the whole truth. The unit was filled with boxes, old furniture, and, in the corner, a familiar suitcase. My mother's suitcase, the one that disappeared after her funeral. My heart was hammered. "How do you have this?" "I had my people retrieve it before anyone else could." He pulled the suitcase forward, opening it to reveal documents, photos, and a small wooden box. "Your mother wasn't just a nurse, Chamaka. 20 years ago, she worked for Seoul Metropolitan Hospital as a trauma specialist. One night, they brought in a man who'd been shot 7 times. No ID, no family, just instructions that he was to receive the best care, no questions asked." He handed me a faded photograph. A younger version of my mother stood beside a hospital bed. In it lay a man with hard eyes and a familiar jawline. "My father," Taeyang said quietly. "She saved his life when every other doctor said he'd die." For 3 months she cared for him, never knowing he was the head of the Kang syndicate. When he recovered, he offered her money. She refused, so he offered her something else: protection and information. I stared at the photo, my mother's smile so genuine, so unaware of what she'd stepped into. Taeyang continued, pulling out more documents. The rival syndicates who'd tried to kill him were running something big: human trafficking, organ harvesting, moving through Seoul's underbelly like cancer. "My father gave your mother evidence, everything needed to expose them. He asked her to keep it safe until the right moment." "Why her?" "Because she was leaving. Going back to Nigeria. She was untouchable there, beyond their reach." He paused. "Or so we thought." He opened the wooden box. Inside was a silver USB drive and a letter, written in my mother's handwriting. My hands shook as I unfolded it. My dearest Chamaka, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and the past has finally found you. I'm so sorry. I thought I could outrun it, bury it, keep you safe by keeping you ignorant. I was wrong. The drive contains evidence of crimes that have destroyed thousands of lives. I couldn't release it while you were young. It would have made us targets. I planned to give it to authorities when you finished university, when you were strong enough to handle the consequences. But if you're reading this, time has run out. Trust the Kangs. I know it sounds impossible, but they're the only ones who can protect you now. The man in the photo, he gave me a promise written in blood. His family would guard mine, always. I love you. Forgive me. Mom, the letter slipped from my fingers. She knew. All along, she knew they'd come for me. She died of heart failure, Taeyang said, voice gentle. But 3 weeks before, she'd been in a car accident. Minor, or so the report said. I think they were sending a warning. The stress killed her. Rage and grief collided in my chest. Why didn't you tell me this from the beginning? Because I wasn't sure I could trust you. His honesty was brutal. You could have been compromised. The syndicates are patient. They plant seeds years in advance. I had to watch you, test you, make sure you were really Adana's daughter and not someone they'd trained to infiltrate us. So, the coffee shop, the restaurant, all of it was surveillance. At first, he stepped closer. But then I saw you yell at that man who shoved a street vendor. I watched you tutor students for free even though you barely had money for food. I saw you cry at a memorial for people you'd never met because their story moved you. His voice dropped. That's when surveillance became something else. What? Obsession. The word hung between us, dangerous and honest. I wanted to scream at him, to hate him for the manipulation, but the letter, my mother's words, shifted everything. She'd trusted him, trusted his family. The wedding, I whispered. David. Was he? Taeyang's expression darkened. We need to go. Now. What? Why? Because David Lee isn't who you think he is, and he just sent me a message saying he has something that belongs to us. We drove in tense silence to an upscale hotel in Gangnam. Taeyang made 3 calls in rapid Korean, his voice razor-sharp. By the time we arrived, 2 of his men were waiting in the lobby. Stay behind me, he ordered. Tell me what's happening. David Lee. I ran a full background check after the wedding. My real name, David Leong. He's not an architect. He's from the Red Lotus triad, trained in Hong Kong and sent to Seoul 3 years ago. Taeyang's jaw clenched. He's been after the drive this whole time. I took you before he could. My stomach dropped. No, that's impossible. We dated for a year. He was sweet, normal. He was patient. We stepped into the elevator. The triad specializes in long-term infiltration. They find targets, study them, become exactly what they need. You needed to be safe after the chaos of your life. So he became safe. The elevator doors opened to the penthouse floor. 2 guards stood outside a suite, weapons visible. They nodded at Taeyang and stepped aside. Inside, the suite was pristine except for one thing. David sat in an armchair, suit immaculate, and smiled cold. Nothing like the man I'd known. Chamaka, he said warmly, as if we were meeting for dinner. You look well. Captivity agrees with you. Don't, Taeyang warned, hand moving to his concealed weapon. David raised his hands in mock surrender. Peace, Kang. I'm not here for violence. I'm here for a trade. We don't negotiate with Triad, one of Taeyang's men growled. You will do this. David pulled out a tablet, turning it to face us. On the screen was surveillance footage of a small apartment. Inside, a young woman studied at a desk, completely unaware she was being watched. My blood went cold. Who is that? David's smile widened. Your half-sister, Cozy Blake, age 19, currently studying medicine in Lagos. Beautiful girl. Bright future. He paused. Unless something unfortunate happens. You bastard, I breathed. I'd never told anyone about Kosi, my mother's daughter from a brief relationship before my father. We'd only met twice, but I'd sent her money when I could, helped her apply for scholarships. She was innocent, completely innocent. "The USB drive," David said calmly. "Give it to me and your sister continues her peaceful life. Refuse and, well, accidents happen. Gas leaks, car malfunctions, muggings gone wrong." Taeyang's voice was nice. "Touch her and I'll burn the triad to ash." Bold words from a man whose empire is crumbling. David stood, buttoning his jacket. "The other syndicates have already made their moves. Your suppliers are cutting ties. Your allies are nervous. The mighty Kang Syndicate, built by your father's blood and sweat, is dying. And you're so busy playing house with a girl who should have been mine that you haven't even noticed. She was never yours. She said yes to my proposal. She chose me. You just stole her before she could realize it." The words stung because they held the truth. I had said yes. In another life, David and I would be married now, living in some modest apartment, ordinary and safe. But that life felt like a stranger's memory. "The drive," David repeated. "You have 48 hours. After that, Kosi starts experiencing very bad luck." He walked past us, pausing at the door. "Oh, and Chamaka? I did love you. As much as someone like me can love. It just wasn't worth more than $50 million and a seat at the triad table." He smiled. "Nothing personal." The door closed. Taeyang immediately made calls, barking orders. I stood frozen, processing. "We'll get protection to your sister within the hour," he said, pocketing his phone. "He won't touch her." "You can't guarantee that." "I can try." "Trying isn't enough." My voice cracked. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. Your world. It destroys everything it touches. My mother, my sister, me. So what do you want to do?" His eyes challenged mine. "Run. Hide? Pretend that makes you safe? They found your mother in Nigeria after 20 years, Chamaka. There's no distance far enough." "Then give them the drive." "I can't." "Why not?" He grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to meet his eyes. "Because on that drive is evidence of 43 trafficking operations, 18 organ harvesting rings, and proof that the triad has infiltrated Seoul's police and government. If they get it, they don't just walk free. They expand. Thousands more people disappear. Children, women, men, all ghosts. And what about my sister? Does she become a ghost so thousands of strangers can live?" His grip tightened. "I won't let that happen." "You can't promise that." "No," he admitted, voice raw. "But I can promise I'll die trying to protect her, just like I'd die to protect you." The confession hung between us, heavy and real. "Why?" I whispered. "Why do you care this much?" He released me, stepping back, running a hand through his hair. For the first time since I'd known him, Taeyang Kang looked vulnerable. "Because you looked at me in that restaurant and saw a person. Not a weapon, not a boss, not something to fear. Just a man who was tired and trying to figure out if there was any good left in him." He laughed bitterly. "You have no idea how rare that is in my world." Before I could respond, his phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face went pale. "What?" I asked. "David lied. We don't have 48 hours. He grabbed my hand. "We need to go. Now." We ran to the car, speeding through Seoul's streets as Taeyang explained. The triad wasn't waiting. They'd already sent operatives to Nigeria. Kosi had been taken from her apartment 20 minutes ago. "Where are they taking her?" My voice shook. "Seoul. They're bringing her here to make sure we cooperate." "When?" "She lands in 6 hours." My mind raced. "The drive. Where is it?" "Hidden. Safe. Take me to it." He glanced at me, surprised. "Why?" "Because I'm going to make a trade. Me for her." "Absolutely not." "It's not your choice." "Like hell it isn't." He swerved the car into an underground garage, slamming the brakes. "You think I went through all this, burned every rule I have, just to hand you over to them? Then what's your plan?" "Because from where I'm standing, they have all the leverage." He grabbed my face, forcing me to look at him. "My plan is to burn them down. All of them. I've been planning it for 3 months, waiting for the right moment. This is it. You're insane. Maybe. But I'm also the only chance your sister has. I searched his eyes looking for doubt, for hesitation. Found none. Just fierce, terrifying determination. What do you need me to do? I asked. He smiled, sharp and dangerous. Trust me. The next 6 hours were a blur of preparation. Taeyang called in every favor, every ally, pulling together a plan that felt impossible. I learned things about his organization I'd never imagined. How deep it went, how powerful. But also how many people relied on him. Families he supported, businesses he protected, people who'd be destroyed if the triad took over. When the plan was set, we drove to Incheon Airport. Taeyang's men were positioned everywhere, disguised as travelers, cleaners, and security. Waiting. When they bring her through, he explained, we'll have a 30-second window. That's when we move. And if something goes wrong, he handed me a gun. Then you run. There's a car in the east lot, keys under the seat. Drive to Busan, find the address in the glove box. Someone there will get you out of Korea. I stared at the weapon. I don't know how to use this. Safety's here. Point and pull. Don't hesitate. His eyes softened. But it won't come to that. You don't know that. No, he admitted. But I'm choosing to believe it anyway. The flight landed. We watched from the upper level as passengers streamed through customs. Then I saw her. Kosi looking terrified, flanked by 2 men in dark suits. She was smaller than I remembered, more fragile. My baby sister. Rage flooded me, pure and clarifying. There! Taeyang murmured into his radio. Mark them! Everything happened fast. Taeyang's men moved in, casual at first, then swarming, shouting, chaos. I ran down the stairs, pushing through crowds, desperate to reach her. Someone grabbed my arm. I spun, gun raised. David stood there, smiling. Did you really think we wouldn't see this coming? Behind him, more triad operatives appeared. Too many. Way too many. Taeyang's voice crackled in the earpiece I wore. Chamaka, run! But I couldn't, because Kosi was screaming my name and David had a gun pressed to my ribs and everything was falling apart. The drive, David said calmly, even as gunfire erupted around us. Now, or I put a bullet in you, then her, then everyone in this airport. I don't have it, but he does. David nodded toward Taeyang, who was fighting his way toward us, taking down triad members like a force of nature. Call him off. Make the trade, or this ends bloody. More operatives surrounded us. Kosi was crying, held by a man twice her size. Taeyang was outnumbered, bleeding from a cut above his eye but still fighting. I made a choice. Stop! I screamed. Taeyang, stop! He froze, eyes finding mine across the chaos. Blood on his knuckles, murder in his eyes. The drive, I said, voice steady despite my terror. Give it to them. It's over. Chamaka, no. Do it, please. For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then slowly, he reached into his jacket and pulled out the USB drive. Hold it up. Let them both go, he said. Then it's yours. David laughed. You think I'm stupid? I'll take the girl and drive. You can keep the sister, fair trade. No, I said. Let Kosi go. Keep me. She doesn't know anything. She's useless to you. David considered this. You know, I think I'll keep both. Insurance. He gestured, and his men moved to take Kosi and me. But before they could, Taeyang did something I didn't expect. He crushed the USB drive under his heel. Everyone froze. What did you do? David whispered, face going pale. Taeyang smiled, cold and victorious. That was a decoy. The real drive? Already in the hands of Interpol. By now they're executing raids across 6 countries. The triad is finished. David's expression twisted with rage. Then you just killed everyone you love. He raised his gun, aiming at me. The shot rang out, but I wasn't hit. Taeyang was. He'd thrown himself in front of me, taking the bullet in his chest. Blood bloomed across his white shirt as he collapsed into my arms. No! I screamed. Chaos erupted again. Airport security, actual security this time, swarmed in. More gunfire, shouting. Someone pulled Kosi away to safety. David tried to run but was tackled by Taeyang's men. I held Taeyang's head in my lap, pressing my hands to the wound. "Stay with me. Don't you dare die." He coughed, blood on his lips. "Told you. I'd die to protect you." "Shut up, you're not dying, you're—" His hand found mine, gripping tight. "The plan worked. Your sister's safe, you're safe, that's enough." "It's not enough." Tears streamed down my face. "You don't get to do this. You don't get to make me care about you and then leave." He smiled, weak but genuine. "Care about me? You idiot, I think I—" Before I could finish, his eyes rolled back. His hand went limp. Medical teams rushed in, pulling him from my arms. I watched them work, heard the rapid Korean, and saw the urgency. Someone wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. Kosi appeared, hugging me tight, but I couldn't feel it. All I could see was Taeyang's blood on my hands. 3 hours later, I sat in a hospital waiting room. Kosi beside me, both of us silent. Taeyang's men stood guard, faces grim. No one would tell me anything. Finally, a doctor emerged. He spoke to one of the guards in Korean, too fast for me to follow. The guard's face remained neutral. "What?" I demanded, standing. "What did he say?" The guard turned to me, expression unreadable. "The boss is in surgery. It's critical." "Is he going to make it?" "They don't know." I sank back into the chair, numb. Kosi squeezed my hand. Hours passed. Dawn broke through the hospital windows, and still, no word. Then the guard's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his expression changed, hardened. "What?" I asked, fear gripping my heart. He looked at me and something in his eyes made my blood run cold. "There's been a complication. The boss flatlined during surgery. They tried to revive him for 20 minutes. He paused. They couldn't bring him back. The world stopped. "No," I whispered. "No, that's not—" "But," the guard continued, just as they were calling time of death, something happened. His brother arrived at the hospital. Her is dead. I saw her buried. Minho's expression was triumphant and terrifying. "Did you? Or did you see a closed casket funeral and just assume?" Taeyang's voice was dangerous. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that Adana Blake didn't die of heart failure 2 years ago. She faked her death. And she's been in Seoul this whole time, working with the very syndicates we've been fighting against." Minho's eyes glittered with malice. "And according to my sources, she's on her way here right now to finish what she started 20 years ago." The room spun. My mother, alive, working with the enemy. "No," I said, but my voice had no strength. "That's not true." "Why would she?" "Because," a new voice said from the doorway, smooth and achingly familiar, "some promises are worth dying for, or in my case, worth pretending to die for." I turned, and there she was. My mother, Adana Blake, alive and standing in the doorway with a gun in her hand pointed directly at Taeyang. "Hello, my darling," she said, eyes on me but weapon steady. "I'm so sorry you had to find out this way. But it's time you learned the truth about our family, about the Kangs, and about why I've spent 20 years planning their complete destruction." She cocked the gun. "Starting right now. If you enjoyed this story, drop a comment telling us your theory. Is Chamaka really Taeyang's sister? Is her mother truly the villain? Or is this another layer of deception? And most importantly, who will survive what comes next? Like and subscribe for part 3, where blood will spill, secrets will shatter, and Chamaka will have to choose between the truth and the lie that might save everyone she loves. Tell us where you're watching from, and share your wildest predictions below.